It is that time of the month again, the time of the month where I give you 10 recommendations of must-see anime that you can watch right now. That is to say that these are shows that are available for free, legal streaming, at least in the US. I can't promise that all of these will be able to be watched in every country on the same sites that I'll be recommending in the description below, but I will say that if the websites I link below don't work for you, then you can just type the name of the show and the word watch into Google and you'll get a ton of less than legal sites where you can watch the show. Personally, I think if they're not releasing it in a way that works for you, you're just gonna have to find a way to watch it, and it's their fault for not releasing it in your country. If you missed last month's video, I'll put it on screen right here or something, and it'll also be linked down in the description. Hopefully you've already seen that video and seen some of those shows. I know a number of people have actually watched the shows I talked about, or at least a few of them. If you didn't watch any of them, well, your backlog is starting to get huge, so you might want to start working on it. Anyways, let's talk about 10 more shows that you can watch right now. I have a list here. I'm just gonna pick them at absolute random. Pick number 1. Do you like violence? Do you like a dark, gritty tone? Something with lots of attitude and personality and grit to it. Black Lagoon. Great show for you. This is a show about a Japanese salaryman who ends up finding himself in the company of a gang of pirates, and he sort of gets indoctrinated into the life of crime, and he sees all kinds of fucked up shit that changes his view of the world as he continues to sail with these pirates and do all kinds of criminal activities. Very fun. It's got a smart edge to it. There's certain episodes that are really sort of deep unexpectedly, considering that the show is usually more silly and action pulpy, but it does have its meaningful moments that give it more character. I definitely recommend it. It's 2 seasons long, and wherever you can watch it is linked below. Up next, let's talk about a dot hack show. A lot of you have probably heard of Dot Hack Sign, which was a show that came out in the early 2000s and was aired on Cartoon Network. It took place inside of an MMORPG game, and it was one of the first anime to do so, and it sort of became a trend after Dot Hack Sign did it. The main character was trapped inside of the game, and there was a mystery surrounding it. It was very much a mystery show, but it's really boring. If you go back and watch Dot Hack Sign, then a lot of people watched it just because they were interested in the video game element of it, but the actual plot of the show is really boring and lame. And now there's been a lot more shows that are set inside of MMORPG worlds. There's Sword Art Online, which is awful, and there's Log Horizon, which is amazing. There's also Dot Hack Quantum. See, Dot Hack continued as a franchise and had a lot of different anime made out of it, but the best one of these, at least in my opinion, is Dot Hack Quantum, a 3-episode OVA that strips out the attempt to be this overly long and boring mystery show and is much more immediate and action-packed. It does have a mystery, and it does have the same themes that the other shows have, but it condenses this into a smaller show with more interesting characters, way better art and animation than any other Dot Hack entry. Because most of the Dot Hack shows are done by B-Train, which is the worst animation studio, and Dot Hack Quantum is done by, I think, Silverlink, or White Fox, one of those, something like that. It's done by a good studio, and it's really pretty to look at. It's a lot of fun to watch. If you like the whole trapped in a video game thing and you want to watch one that's not boring, then Dot Hack Quantum is a great way to go, and it won't take much of your time. Up next, if you want sort of a romantic comedy, more on the comedy side of things, then Ouran High School Host Club is a great show. 26 episodes long. It's the story of this girl named Haruhi who's very poor, but she ends up going to a rich person's school because she has such great grades and gets in on scholarship. And everyone at this school does not give a damn about their schoolwork. They're all just there because they're rich, and they're all obscenely rich, just throwing money at everything, and most of them are blasé and just do whatever they want, whereas she actually studies and works hard. Well, she ends up in a club room at the school, and she accidentally breaks this extremely expensive vase that's worth more than her life. And so the club ends up forcing her to become a member in order to pay back for the vase, and of course it turns out to be a host club. Now, a host club is basically somewhere where women would go to have very beautiful men talk to them, make them feel comfortable, and basically flirt with them. And Haruhi ends up in this club because she looks kind of like a boy, but what the people in the club don't realize is that she's actually a girl. So it's mostly wacky hijinks. A lot of the jokes are about how she's poor and the other people are rich. I can't really explain the sense of humor here because it's comedy and that's hard to do, but it is a very funny show with a lot of actually heartfelt moments and a romance subplot plot that does progress as the show goes along. The characters get a lot more fleshed out and developed than you might expect from a typical comedy series. Plus, it's super cute, it's a lot of fun, it has a lot of influence from the likes of Revolutionary Girl Utena, because a lot of the people who worked on that show worked on this one, so I highly recommend it, especially if you're into shoujo romantic comedy kind of shows. It's one of the best that there is. Alright, this next one's for those of you with a lot of time on your hands who really like comedy and parody shows. I'm going to tell you about probably my favorite anime ever made, Gintama. This series is almost like 300 episodes long in total between its 2 seasons. It's very long, and most of the episodes have nothing to do with one another. It's almost completely episodic, comedy parody series. And it is all over the place. The best way I usually describe Gintama over the years is that Gintama is everything, because it parodies so many genres, so many other manga, and it does so beautifully. I'll say something like 80% of the episodes of this show are some of the funniest episodes of anime out there. Unfortunately, because there are some episodes that are a little bit more hit or miss, and the fact that it's so long, it's hard to actually recommend Gintama to people, but if you have the time for it and you want to check out what is, in my opinion, by far the greatest comedy anime that's ever been created, definitely give it a shot. Great characters, super memorable cast, all of whom I absolutely adore. Tons of episodes that are among the best episodes of anime out there. You have to dig through the whole thing to find them, but it's worth it for every moment, so give it a watch if you can muster the courage. Up next, I'm gonna pick an easy one, because I've already done a video on this show, and you can just watch that to hear more of what makes it so great, but Log Horizon, again, one of my favorite anime. It does the whole trapped inside of an MMO game thing perfectly. It is an amazing show, very intelligently written with lots of fantastic characters. You might not realize in the first episodes exactly where the show is going, because it starts off more world building. At first it's sort of putting the pieces into place of how the world that the characters have been teleported to works, so that you understand all of the mechanics very clearly, so that once the show does start moving into its very tactical, political sort of plot line, and I don't say political in a way that means boring, because I think it often does mean boring. I will admit that there are plenty of scenes in this show where you'll have a whole episode of characters mostly sitting around talking, but what they're talking about is something of great interest, and it will usually be some kind of grand sweeping story moment that will really gut punch you and make you go, holy fuck, this is genius. And there is good action in the show as well. I won't say that it's beautifully animated or anything, but I personally liked the designs. I thought it was consistently well done, and it's just so much fun to watch and so smart that I can't help but call it one of my favorite anime of all time. So definitely watch Log Horizon, especially, again, if you're into the whole trapped in an MMO thing. I've given you 2 shows that are exponentially better than Sword Art Online now. So if you're one of those people who says that you like Sword Art Online because you like the concept of people being trapped inside a game, now you have no excuse, because there's 2 better shows that I've already given you. Up next, I'm sure some of you like superheroes a lot, like comic book, almost Western style superheroes. If you're into that, check out the show Tiger and Bunny. This show has a sort of almost X-Men style plotline where there's a bunch of people who have mutant special powers, but the concept in this show is that the people who fight crime, the superheroes, are actually sponsored by television. There's actually a TV show where whenever a crime breaks out, then the TV cameras start rolling and the superheroes kind of compete in a way to see who can capture the villain. And the main character, Wild Tiger, is a superhero who's been around for a long time, and he's sort of washed up, and he really believes just in the justice of solving a crime, of capturing a criminal, but he's sort of behind the times, where now it's more commercial, and there's more emphasis on looking cool while you're stopping criminals, and also he causes a lot of property damage and stuff, so he's sort of a dinosaur in this world. And what ends up happening is he gets teamed up with a new rookie who more plays by the rules, and they have to become a duo, a crime-fighting duo. It's a fun show. It starts off sort of criminal of the week, and then it develops a more overarching storyline. It's really nice to look at, a lot of great action scenes in it, and if you're into superheroes, look no further. It's a great superhero show, so Tiger and Bunny for you. Up next, if you like tension, suspense, not knowing what's gonna happen next, and the character's life always being on the line, I recommend Ultimate Survivor Kaiji. This show is gonna put some people off just with its art style. It has a very strange old school aesthetic, but if you don't care about the art as much and you just want to see a gritty, intense show about characters who have to gamble for their lives, then this is the show for you. The main character Kaiji gets wrapped up in this black market gambling underworld because one of his friends leaves him with a mountain of debt, and like I think his friend died and left all the debt in Kaiji's name, and so he ends up having to get roped into this whole Yakuza crime world of constantly playing these high stakes death games that are really intense and gripping to watch. Characters die, characters struggle, characters are tortured, Kaiji gets put through the ringer, 2 26-episode seasons of non-stop brick-shitting intensity, and just be glad you didn't have to watch this while it was airing weekly, because it would be really, really difficult to watch this show on a week-to-week basis. But luckily for you, it's all finished and aired, and you can just watch the hell out of it, because that's what you'll do. If you try to watch this show, you're not going to be able to stop. So definitely check out Ultimate Survivor Kaiji. Now you probably need to relax a little after watching Kaiji, so let's talk about a show that's a little bit more down-tempo, down-to-earth, Natsume Yujincho. This is a sort of slice-of-life supernatural series about this boy named Natsume who has to move in with his aunt and uncle in the countryside, and he can see spirits, like Japanese-style gods and spirits in the Shinto tradition. And because of this, he's sort of become very lonely and introverted, and in this series, after he moves out into the countryside, he finds out that his grandma had basically spent her whole life going around beating up demons and taking their names, which means that she has control over them. She has a giant book full of names. So Natsume decides that he's going to try to give all the names back. So he's looking for different monsters. He usually has to help them with some of their problems and give them their name back. This happens in a very sort of relaxing and slow series that's very pretty to look at and has lots of very pretty boys in it if you are into that kind of thing. And it has a lot of really resonant moments. If you have feelings of introversion and loneliness, you'll probably relate a lot to Natsume, and the show definitely has some heartstring pulling episodes that might bring a tear to the eye or two. I think it has like 3 seasons, so there's a lot to watch, and it's very much a melt into the couch kind of show. That's how I felt when I watched it. I just laid there, wrapped in a bunch of blankets, watched all the show, phasing in and out of sleep, and it was very pleasant. This next one's for those of you who like to see cute girls doing cute things, but you also want it to be kind of intense and actiony. That's where we get Saki. I say actiony, but I really mean they're playing mahjong. This is a show about a bunch of girls who play mahjong, and it is super cute, super intense when they get into the mahjong matches. Now I'm gonna admit, I don't know the rules of mahjong whatsoever. I cannot understand what the fuck is happening in this show half the time, and yet the way it's presented with this over-the-top flair where characters will slam their tiles down and they have all these secret techniques and crazy magic shit going on, it's a blast to watch. And again, there's lots of really cute girls in it, and it's just really fun and pleasant, and there's lots of friendship and that kind of stuff. If you like those kind of shows, Saki is a great one. There's actually a 2nd season of it that came out recently that I haven't seen yet, and I know the manga is extremely popular right now, so go give Saki a read or a watch. It's a lot of fun. And lastly, dipping again into romantic comedy, Toradora, one of the greatest romance anime ever made, I would say. Very funny, very cute, very heartfelt. This show grips your heart, and it tells a complete story. 26 episodes that actually has a complete romance story in it. I don't know how much anime you guys have watched, but it's really fucking rare to see that, because most shows come from manga that are still going, or light novel series that are still going, or they constantly reset the relationships and characters never hook up, and you have this will they, won't they all the time. Toradora is one of the only shows that I've seen that actually has a relationship progress from meeting to its eventuality. Well, I won't spoil the ending. But anyway, it's a great show. It has themes of friendship, themes of family, themes of love, jokes, heart-pulling moments, and me and Tommy Oliver are probably going to do a podcast on it soon, because he watched it and thought it was like the greatest fucking show ever. I've seen it recently enough. We might talk about it, so you'll want to have seen it before we do so. That's your incentive there. Anyway, that's 10 shows that you should see. They're all must see. I recommend all of them highly. I think they're great great shows and you can watch them right now. All the links are right there in the description. I've got as many sites as I could find the show on. I'm linking them below. If you can't find them, once again, Google is your friend. Anime is really, really easy to come by these days. There's hundreds of streaming sites that you can watch it on. I don't really recommend them because they're usually kind of low video quality, but even then, you can download episodes. Just search the name of the episode and the word torrent or something. Find it. It's not hard. You know, I always support legal streaming because it does actually help in some tiny infinitesimal way to support the industry and to just not feel like you're doing something illegal. But if you can't do it that way, do it whatever way you can. That's it. Watch the shows. Tell me what you think of the shows down in the description. Watch the shows from last month, this month. Be ready for next month because I'm never gonna stop. I've got so many anime to talk about and I want you to join me in otakudom. I'm feeling it strongly. I'm about to go to Otakon and I've been in the otaku mindset. My mind is crowded with nothing but thoughts of anime and I've watched like 200 episodes of anime this month and written a lot of videos about it, so please join me in this majesty of otaku fandom because it's fun here.